People are standing outside a line to get into a place to order hot food. So I have to ask a question. I go over to the assistant manager and I said, help me. I'm confused. I'm in a hotel across the street. It's completely dark. Everything around here is dark, and you are lit up. How can that be? He smiled and he said, people have been asking us that all evening, and it's really fairly simple. He said, when we built this hotel, we built it with a gas generator. He says, anticipating a day like this could come, we built this house, this hotel, this place where people live, with a gas generator, so there is power on the inside that's not dependent upon circumstances on the outside. That there is something that we have installed inside here that gives us what we need to provide those who come our way what they need. We have a place for folk to stay a while, in spite of the darkness out of which they have come, so that they can experience light coming from a dark situation. When I think about what Koinonia House is and what it does, it's a place for people coming out of a dark situation to come into a well-lit location. It's a place for people coming out of a situation that is not the best. It's full of blight and darkness and pain and problems and sin and negative circumstances. And there is this lit up place that's not dependent upon power on the outside, because it's got this generator thing working on the inside. It's got this internal thing that illuminates all who go there. It makes me think of a verse. You know the verse well. It's Jeremiah 29:11. I have a plan for you, saith the Lord, a plan for your well-being and not for your calamity, to give you a future and to give you a hope. I have a plan for you, saith the Lord, a plan for your well-being and not for your calamity, to give you a future and to give you a hope. Now that's a great verse. I have a plan for you, saith the Lord, Jeremiah 29:11. It's a great plan. It's a wonderful plan. It's a plan for your well-being, and it's not for your calamity, and it involves your future, and it involves a hope. That's a great verse in a bad chapter. Jeremiah 29 is a dark place. You start in verse 4, and all of God's people are incarcerated in Babylon. All of God's people are in jail. They are imprisoned in Babylon. Or they have been, or at least a large percentage of them have been captured, and they have been ripped away from their homeland, and they are locked down in Babylon. And it was their fault. It was their sin, it says. It was their rebellion. It was their crime that led to their incarceration in a place called Babylon. But in a dark chapter, there's a well-lit verse. I have a plan for you, saith the Lord, a plan for your well-being and not for your calamity, to give you a future and to give you a hope. A well-lit verse in a very dark chapter. It's not only a well-lit verse in a dark chapter, it's a well-lit verse in a dark chapter located in a dark book. If you're depressed, don't read Jeremiah for devotions. It'll ruin your day. It says one bad thing after another, one negative thing after another. But in a bad chapter, located in a bad book, I got a well-lit verse. I have a plan for you, saith the Lord, a plan for your well-being and not for your calamity, to give you a future and to give you a hope. The folks that this ministry ministers to are people who are in a bad chapter of their lives, and some of them have come out of a bad book. As far back as they can remember, there was no family structure, no love, no acceptance. And while that does not excuse responsibility, it explains why the propensity to the wrong direction is a lot easier. But the good news of Koinonia House is the good news of Jeremiah 29:11, that even if you're in a bad chapter in your life, this period in your life is not one you're proud of. And even if that bad chapter is located in a much bigger bad book, there is still a well-lit verse. I have a plan for you, saith the Lord, a plan for your well-being and not for your calamity, to give you a future and to give you a hope. What is hope? Hope is joyful expectation and anticipation about tomorrow. Hope is where I'm going is going to be better than where I've been. Hope is my future is going to be better than my past, and my tomorrow more successful than my yesterday. That's why hope is always tied to your future. What Koinonia House offers is a different tomorrow in spite of yesterday. In spite of the gate you came out of, the gate you're going to is going to be different. That's hope. Most of you drove here tonight, and perhaps some of you will have to back out of your parking spaces when you leave. And when you do, you're going to have to look in your rear view mirror. You will look in your rear view mirror as you back out so that you don't back into anything. That little piece of glass above the dashboard will be a major focus because you are going backwards. So you must look in this piece of glass. Then, when you straighten out, after you have backed up, when you straighten out and are making your way to where you are headed, you will glance in the rearview mirror, but you will not live there. Please don't live there. You're going to hurt somebody. No, because in front of the rearview mirror is a much bigger piece of glass called the windshield. Because where you're going is a lot bigger than where you've been. And so the good news of what this lighthouse offers is that your tomorrow can be much bigger than your yesterday. And while we don't want you to lose sight of where you've been, we want to show you the much bigger piece of where you're going. That's what makes this ministry great, and that's why I'm delighted to be a part of its program this evening. God has a plan for these prisoners that this ministry serves, and it's a plan for a glorious future and a better tomorrow. You know, sometimes God allows in our lives mistakes. He doesn't endorse them, but He allows them. And He allows the consequences of those mistakes to get our attention. That's why Israel was incarcerated into Babylon. It was the consequence of their mistakes that was their fault. And He allows that. But the beauty of our sovereign God is that He can take messes and create miracles. That He can hit a bullseye with a crooked stick. That He can do something with that which is... He can create things out of negative circumstances. I remember when I met my wife Lois and I was 18. She's a very beautiful girl, and I said, let me get to know her. And I began to talk to her, but she did not respond at the rate to which I was accustomed. The girlfriend was moving a little slow. So I took her to an amusement park in Baltimore, Maryland called Gwynn Oaks Amusement Park, and it had this ride. It was called the Wild Mouse. It was a roller coaster for two, and it was wild. It would go up, and then it would dip way down, then it would shoot like it was going to jump off the track and turn real quick. I said, give me 2 tickets, because it was wild. Now, the wilder the ride got, the closer she got. By the time the ride was over, you thought only one person got on it. Why did I buy 2 tickets for that ride? Because I had a plan for her. And it was a good plan. And it involved the future and it involved the hope. In other words, a bad situation led to a better scenario. God can uniquely take the mess and create the miracle. I don't know if you've ever been to a pizzeria. I'm talking about a real deal. I'm talking about one run by the Italians. They take a wad of dough and then begin to abuse it. They take this wad of dough, slam it down, bam. Take a roller, roll over it. Just mash it. put on their fingers and spin it in the air. That's abuse.